guys, my name is Monique St. Pierre, physical therapist and certified strength and conditioning specialist. And I'm here today to get you started with the basics for your squat form to help you with the best body mechanics for inside the gym and lifting, but also with your functional movement that you may be doing in your home and other activities around you. So if you're ready, let's go. All right guys, today we are going to learn the basic mechanics for our squat. So the squat is not only important because it's a number one big lower body strength building move, but it's something that we functionally do throughout our day, throughout the entire day. Sit to stand in a chair, squatting down to the floor, sitting down in a car seat, retrieving any items off of the floor. You might not think of these as weightlifting moves, but as we move through our life, it's so important that we keep these correct body mechanics and keep our joints mobile and strong so that we can complete the squat to stay as mobile as we can throughout our lives, and also so we can weight train with proper form to keep our joints healthy, to keep us loading and progressively loading to get those muscles stronger. All right, so in the squat, it's a full lower body movement. You're going to be working your quads, which are on the front of your legs, your glutes through the back, and then also the hamstrings. The major muscle groups that we will be working though will be your quads and your glutes, all right? Both of those muscles, whenever they contract, help to straighten your legs and your quads, and then your glutes help to push your hips forward or to bring your hips into extension. All right, so when we talk about leg extension, you're talking about this leg coming back here, but also hips forward for a leg to go back, biomechanically speaking. All right, also lower down the kinetic chain, we're stabilizing through our ankles and our knees. The surrounding musculature is around the knees, so whenever we squat, we're keeping good form and you're not having any valgus force or torque coming in on your knees with your knees caving in. The big thing to learn about with squats coming up is what our references on our bodies are going to be. So we want our spine in neutral alignment, so think about your ear, shoulder, and hip bone. So that alignment should stay there the entire time, all right? Then you've got your hip, knee, and ankle, all right? We've been preached at for years to not let our knees pass our toes, and I want to discuss that with you guys because I never want you doing anything you're uncomfortable with, but I also never want you to be fearful of a movement. Your knees coming over your toes is a very natural biomechanical process when we're in a body weight position. So if you're squatting and your knees are coming forward, it's okay as long as the rest of your body is staying in alignment, that we'll get to later on in this environment. However, I would not encourage a heavy load, so extra load adding onto you, whether dumbbells or a barbell, if you're practicing those forward knees over toe squats. However, we do want to have that motion where your knees come over your toes with power and strength, because that's an alignment we have to get into whenever we're going into running. All right, with further ado, let's get into our squats. So when we're thinking about our squats, we need to remember that our plumb line from our ear, shoulder, hips stays in one alignment. And ideally, whenever you squat, you're thinking about your ankle joint too, and squatting coming down, you're keeping your ankle and your ear almost in alignment, okay? I still want you to move in a range of motion or at a pace that is comfortable for you. Big things though is that you don't want to Donald Duck butt, so you don't want to be sticking your back out and causing this lordotic curve, so you want to tuck it in and come down. Now, let's say you're like, well, Dr. Mo, I can't get down as low. That's fine. I would rather good form over progressive depth anytime. If we can't keep the good form throughout a range of motions, it's because we're compensating and we don't want to teach our body poor mechanics, because that's how we get muscle asymmetries and lead to injuries, and also just poor behavior and habits with our movement patterns. So this is as far as you can get with good form. That's as far as you can get right now, and then you just work on it. All right, that's why we've got goals. So coming down and back up, okay? The other big thing I see with squats is that you don't want to be jutting forward and arching through your neck, arching through your back. I see this happen a lot because people are trying to keep their balance. So if your butt's going back, people tend to send their head forward or up to kind of counterbalance the weight because they're struggling with balance techniques through your body. So I would definitely take a deeper dive into that if that just clicked and you're like, oh, that's me. All right, so moving on. When we get below the hips down to the feet, there's age-old argument again. Oh, keep your toes facing forward, knee over your second toes. Don't deviate from that. If you're in a training course that's teaching that, or you're competing where those are the mechanics that you have to have, please listen to your instructors and also into the guidelines for your competition. However, here we are learning more about functional movement and strength to keep us strong throughout the decades. So I want to encourage you to not be afraid of movement. If you feel more comfortable squatting, closer in, toes forward, here, fantastic. If you feel more comfortable squatting, toes out, legs wider, squatting here and up, fantastic. Same principle as in step one goes though. Narrow squat, you're still keeping core strong, okay? Knees are bending, hips are flexing. When you come up, you're extending the hips, you're extending the knee. Same thing, wide and turned out. You're coming down, all right? And back up. Keeping the spine neutral, not giving me a Donald Duck butt, and then keeping the neck neutral as well too. Oftentimes people can have a different comfortable level with toes straight or toes out, because we can find in some populations that our hip bones are made a little differently with how they sit in our ball and socket joint, our hips. And some of us just have a more neutral alignment. Some of us have a more wider alignment. And I want you to be respectful to your body and feel what feels best for you. All right, now the age-old question. How low do I go in my squats? I want you to think of an answer right now. The answer is whatever feels comfortable for you. And please expect that to change over your lifetime. It might change over your year. You always have to be going into a range of motion that is functional and feels good for you. Now, if you're somebody out there that is saying, I need an answer right now, let me tell you, functionally, you should be able to squat to 90 degrees. If we're squatting to 90 degrees, okay, we've got a 90-degree angle and our knees right here and back up. The reason for that being, we sit down in chairs and stand up all the time. That's the same range of motion. Sit to stand from a chair and up, squat, same range of motion. So always look at your squat as being your functional training for sitting down in a chair and standing back up. You never want to get to a point where you're coming halfway to a chair and then just plopping down, because then we're not using our bodies what we're made for, and that goes into the use it or lose it. And if you start learning how to just plop down and let gravity take over, you're going to lose your lower body strength more early in your life compared to someone that actively trains squats or is actively engaged in the entire transfer from sit to stand. So let's always think about why we're in the gym and then transfer that into our life as well. Now, moving on from that, my method of teaching is that if you can't get down into your 90 degrees or your chair height without weights, then you shouldn't be using weights yet. And once you can maintain that range of motion, add on the weights once you get it, okay? With that being said, I know that can be stressful and very aggravating to people. So if you do not like that, please move on, right? And let's find something that works for you. So what I would say is stay in a pain-free range of motion. So what I mean by that is, let's say that just coming down between 0 and 90 degrees, right here at 45, and you're like, yep, that's it, and back up. Perfect. We are still working range strength in a functional range of motion, okay? So halfway and back up. If thinking about all those numbers is too much, guys, just tune in to where your body is at. Where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Oh, it hurts right there? Okay, I'm not gonna go that low next time. That one's pain-free. Fantastic, all right? So now, here's the other trick, right? What is pain? What is pain? Or are we just talking about soreness? That gets everyone, every time. So when I say pain, I mean I don't want you feeling pain in your knee joint, in your hip joint. This is a very popular pain area for squats too when we get lower because of impingement and other pathologies. I also don't want you getting pain in your low back through this area or in your shoulders, all right? If we're getting in our shoulders, you're either doing the turkey head or your weights are too heavy, okay? So moving on to squats with weight form. All right, first thing we're gonna look into is lifting with our dumbbells. So before we even get started with the squat, I wanna go over the correct transfer for picking up your dumbbells because it is in the family of squatting. I never want us going whoop, and throwing up our weight because they're putting so much pressure on that low back. And then also, you're losing a great opportunity to practice your functional range of motion in your environment. So whenever we squat or pick up our dumbbells, it's basically like a squat. You wanna keep your chest up. Now we're not having weights, so obviously look down to see where you're going, guys. Squat down and lift up, okay? If squatting that low is difficult for you and painful, make sure you have a dumbbell rack or a chair or a counter somewhere where you can keep your weights during your workout so that you're not losing energy with your transfers of picking up weights and putting down weights, and you can transfer that energy more effectively into your workout. All right, so dumbbells. The big thing is that when you have weight, we're not used to carrying it, and we're not working farmer's carries or working our grip strength. When our hands get weak, we tend to, let me hold these weights with my trap muscles right here. Okay, I want you to keep your shoulders down away from your ears. Pretend like they're magnets and your ears are repelling from your shoulders. If we can't maintain this, I'm going to suggest you drop down your weight just a little lower until you can, all right? By your side, this is called your suitcase carry squat. So anytime you see a workout that says suitcase squat, suitcase lunge, down by your side like you're carrying a suitcase, shoulders back, shoulder blades retracted, core tight, all right? So you want to kind of slide down your legs, weight should be in your heels. I am able to lift my toes up right now in this squat and then push through your heels, drive your hips forward, literally squeeze the butt cheek, okay? We're always talking about muscle activation, so you literally want to be squeezing it. The cue I used to always get my classes is, there's $100 bill in your butt crack, and don't let me steal it. Because if you don't know, your girl's frugal. I'm taking it if you're not clenching. So, shoulders back and down, suitcase squat carry here, down and up, okay? Same thing if you're in a wide plie squat that's more comfortable for you. I would suggest bringing your weights more in front of you just because it's easier with range of motion. This does cause you to want to tip forward a little bit more. We don't want that, so shoulders down. Make sure we're keeping our form and back up, squeeze the quad, squeeze the glute, all right? When you see something that says front rack, like if you were in a barbell squat, front racking right onto your clavicles, okay? I don't love resting your weight on your shoulders just because of the compressions that you can set yourself up with in this area. So I always like to try and hold them here where you can see the weight is a little bit away from my clavicle region. However, as you progress into heavier weights, I realize it's more functional to hold it here, just kind of a mind placement to be mindful of it, all right? So same thing here, up in the front, down and up. This is going to load your quad just a little bit more in this position. And just another way to train the different ways that we carry weight, all right? Another option you might see is the goblet squat. So goblet, we're up here, right in the center. I'm going palms underneath. Wrapping here if I want to, but I tend to hold here so I don't take out my energy and giving the weight a death grip, okay? Totally your call. Same thing, goblet up, high goblet, low goblet, down and up there, okay? So I hope that helps you with some of the terminology for a lot of our common squats.